Supergirl Season 2, Episode 6, Changing. I like this episode for what they did with the characters. There was a lot of development. It's even kind of in the title, Changing, which I think applies to like a ton of the characters actually in this episode. It applies to the villain of the episode. It applies to Alex and what she was going through. It applies to both Jimmy and Winn as they both decide to kind of have this new secret. And it applies to Mon-El. And in a very small sense, I guess technically, it applies to Jean and McGann as well. But I like what they did with this. I thought it had some really good emotion. It was definitely an emotional episode because of Alex's storyline. And I like what they did with her. You know, it was kind of sad to watch because it was going through and it was kind of simple. It's like, okay, so she's dealing with what she believes are feelings that she may have repressed, you know, throughout her life that she never really thought too much about. And I was like, alright, this is good. It's just building up and she's accepting it and simple stuff like that. And she, you know, talks with Kara and she figures everything out. And I'm like, alright, this is cool. So I thought it was kind of simple. But when it first started, I was like, alright, cool. This will happen and then she'll get to be with the girl. And as it went through, like when she was talking with Kara, I was thinking like, man, what if this doesn't work though? Because this is her... basically, like in an honest sense, this is kind of her figuring out who she's gonna be, or you know, figuring out these emotions that she kind of repressed all her life, or just never really, even if she didn't actually repress them, she just never really considered them. Like it was just, she just thought that that wasn't really it. She just never really considered it. And I was thinking, like, man, if that's the case, and I wish I could think of the woman's name, but I'm like, she probably wouldn't want to be with her because she'd kind of be like the experiment girlfriend. And I was thinking about that like when she was talking with Kara, when Alex and Kara were talking. I was like, she might not want to do that, which a lot of people wouldn't. It's like, you know, they'd feel like the I'm not too sure person. Like, I want to see if this is how I truly feel relationship. And it's like, that would be the crappy relationship if you got invested and you're like, I know who I am and I want to be with this person, but they don't really know if they want to, and this is kind of, even if they admit it to their family and themselves, this is still technically kind of a test because she might feel that way about me, but then that could also change after like 2 weeks or something, you know? And I was like, man, when it happened at the end, I was like, that really sucks. I was like, it kind of just came full circle. I was like, wow, they kind of did that, which, like I said, makes perfect sense. You know, it still sucks because it's, you know, I like Alex as a character, so I kind of wanted to just be perfect for her. But I was like, man, that sucks, but it makes a ton of sense where it's like, you know, you're going through this moment where it's like you realize something about yourself you never considered, and it's going to just make everything seem fantastic. Like, it's just you and me. It's a new type of experience. It's a new type of relationship that you've never had or even really considered having. And that'll make everything seem fantastic and shiny, and it won't just be, it's you in a relationship. It's new. It's you in a brand new type of relationship for your life. And she said, like, I mean, everything she said made a lot of sense. It's like, we're in totally different places. Like, you just got here. You know, like she said, you're like fresh off the boat, and I've lived this life for a while, and those types of relationships don't work. And I'm here for you as a friend. I was like, man, this scene sucks. Like, it was just sad. And like, all this stuff Alex went through where she's upset about how she feels and how she should feel and how she's felt in the past. And the other scenes where she was crying, and then she just gets shot down at the end. And I was like, that is effing depressing. Like, it was just so sad watching her go through this turmoil throughout this episode. But I thought it was really well. I thought it was amazingly, you know, well acted. I thought she was good. She could, like, the actress, I don't really know any of the actresses' names or any of the actors really in the show, but she could like turn on the waterworks like that. Like the scene when she was talking with Kara at, I think it was at Kara's house, and it was like after they had the first conversation, and she turned away, and there's like no tears. She turned away, and then she turned back, and her eyes were already watery. I was like, holy crap, that's like, just in the moment she did it. So I thought that was cool, but really well done with her storyline. It didn't have the nicest ending with how everything played out, but I thought it was really great. I like the way they did it. We also got to see Kara's apartment for the first time, which is, it's one of those things when, you know, or we got to see Alex's apartment for the first time. And when Kara went to go see her, I was like, holy crap, this is her apartment. Like, we've never been here before. So that was just a random thing that I thought was interesting. I don't know if that means we'll actually get to see her apartment more, or if it was just like, they finally just are like, well, we have to show where she lives now because she's sad, so she stayed at home. But I like what they did with her storyline. I am excited to see where it goes if she is in this sort of in-between space where the woman that she wants to be with doesn't really want to be with her, at least not, just yet. So maybe she'll end up with someone else, or yeah, I would assume that they do that because of how they kind of wrote the relationship not working in this episode. I would assume she has to at least end up with at least one person before she's able to be, with this other agent, because she's, even if it was a year later, if she hadn't been with another woman, it would be the same sort of thing. Like, this is still the first relationship you've had with another person of the same sex. So I would assume that at some point she somehow has to end up with someone else that's a woman, like some other character. And I don't know what to expect from that, because we have her in this new position now. Would it work, or would they make it like a super quick thing where she was with this woman for like, they do like 2 weeks, and then it's like, all right, well, that's done, and then they instantly put her with the woman she wants to be with? Or is it going to be something that lasts? So it's kind of hard to tell where they're going to take it just yet, but I'm excited to see where it goes. I like the journey for this one. I wish it was happier for Alex's character, but I thought it was definitely well done. And then we have Jimmy and Winn in this episode, them teaming up to do the superhero thing, and we get to see Jimmy come out. I think it was like a little bit, it was like maybe within the last 15 minutes, we got to see him as the Guardian. He comes out as, this new vigilante hero, and he's already being attacked, which I thought was really hilarious. When I saw the promo, I was like, man, they're already going after him. I don't think they ever went after Supergirl. Like, when she first came out, it was just like, oh, cool. And that was it. It was like, oh, she's a hero now. They said, some people didn't like the fact that she was an alien, but it was automatically like a Superman thing. But for him, it's like she came out and it was just like, oh snap, it's like Superman, sweet. And then Jimmy comes out and he helps and everything, and he got like the Batman side of it, where it's like, this vigilante is bad and we gotta stop him. I was like, that's really weird. It's just like, once it's a dude, it's like, nope. And so I just thought that was funny when I saw the promo. But he comes out, he's the Guardian. We get to see his suit. Pretty simple suit. It's, just grades. Just full on helmet type of deal. If you watch, Arrow, it reminds me a lot of the Spartan suit. It's kind of just one simple color. And in Arrow, it's much simpler. I think he literally just has a jacket and some pants. Like, his helmet is the special thing. But for Jimmy, he actually has a full costume. Like, the whole thing is an outfit. It's not just the helmet. But I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool. Winn made him a pretty sweet shield. Like, it basically seemed to rebound the energy and send it back on the creature, and it sent it, like flying into the car. And they didn't focus too much on it, when he was in the van, but I'm pretty sure I saw it have like numbers, and it went down to like 89% or something like that. So it has like energy built into it, or it's tech based. So it's almost like like an actual shield, like a reflector shield, like Star Wars or Star Trek, where it can protect them from anything and everything. But it does have its limit, and it takes a bit of damage. So I thought that was cool. They didn't, spend too much time on it. It was basically him in the costume. And I liked it. I actually enjoyed it. Like I mentioned before, it's still weird that this is Jimmy Olsen, doing this stuff. Like, it just would make way more sense if they just switched the names on the characters. Winn was Jimmy Olsen, and Jimmy Olsen had Winn's name. And then it's just like, alright, they can do whatever they want with Winn. No big deal. So, it's still a little weird seeing that, but I do enjoy it. I thought it was well done, and like I said, I kind of like what they did with the shield, where it like blew the energy back on the creature. That's just very interesting. So, basically, like that creature had super strength. It was a giant creature. So, it shows that it can take a punch. Like, we'd have to see, how it kind of stands up to Supergirl and stuff, even though, of course, them all being heroes, like, she obviously recognized the fact that he's a good guy at the end. It's like, alright, well, obviously we aren't going to fight this dude, but at some point maybe something will happen where they have to somehow, either Supergirl or Mon-El end up punching, the shield, and we get to see what it can really withstand. But I liked it. I thought it was fine getting to see him in the suit. He's flipping and doing kicks and blocks and stuff. He was surviving a surprisingly long amount of time. Mon-El had his little moment in this episode. We found out that the job he took was actually to be an enforcer for a bouncer, or for a bookie, I mean. So he had his thing. Carl was super disappointed in him, but he decides to um, kind of make his way back around to the side of being a hero. So he tries to go out after Car and Jean really get messed up. Like they both got sapped of their energy and were like half husks. So he's like, I gotta. Well, at first he went to drink. That was his first option, and then of course Alex kind of called him a coward and everything. So he decided to really step up and be a hero. So he had his little moment. And he, basically was taken out in about 2.5 seconds. But you know, that's when Jimmy comes in and he does his thing. So he really fought more than Mon-El did. But Mon-El did end up saving that little girl, and he actually uses his super speed, so it is kind of confirmed that he actually has super speed and as well as super strength. But sadly, after his whole little hero thing, we get to the end of the episode. He seems, he sees a homeless guy on the ground, and he walks past him, and he's like, okay, trying to be a good guy. So he's like, hey, is there anything I can do to help? And then boom, he gets tased and he's kidnapped by Cadmus. So I don't know where that's headed, but I have a couple of suspicions because of all the stuff I said about him possibly being Superboy, and then I mentioned before that I think it was either the last episode or the one before. I found out that Mon-El is actually a character in the comics called Valor. So I don't know what they're gonna do with him now. It seems like they're headed more towards the Superboy side of things now that he's been kidnapped by Cadmus, and that leads to some other stuff that they can do if they do the cloning thing. They have Match, who is supposed to be a clone of Superboy, is like a crazy psycho version of Superboy. So there's just a lot of insanity there, and I don't know where they're taking it. It seems like they're definitely, now that he's been kidnapped by Cadmus, I'm really feeling like they're going to go more the Superboy route than the Valor route of him, like in the comics. But it's still hard to tell. They can really do whatever they want. They have that sort of freedom because it's not on like the main universe, Earth, or anything. So whatever happens, it'll play out how they want it to play out. But I'm hoping that they, there's just a lot of possibilities. I don't think they'll go into all that stuff with him officially being Superboy, and then they use whatever DNA and then they make a clone out of him to try to, make Superman or something like that. So it's hard to say where they're taking it because he is a character from a different planet. He's not Superboy, who is a flat-out clone of Superman, just with less powers. So it's hard to tell where they're taking it. But at this point, he has the super strength of Superboy. The only extra thing I've seen him do is the super speed, because Superboy doesn't have that. So that's really it. And that's an easy little thing to add. Okay, he has super strength. We won't see him use it most of the time anyway, because it's a TV show. Whenever characters have super strength, or super speed, they never actually use it as much as they logically should. So I don't know. It's hard to tell where they're going, but he gets kidnapped and he's taken by Cadmus. The next episode seems pretty intense. He's been kidnapped. Something happens with Jean where he ends up attacking Kara. And, of course we have Winn and Jimmy, and they're trying to do the hero thing, and Jimmy's now being, looked after as the vigilante and stuff. So there's a lot of craziness to look forward to in this next episode. They also make a cool reference with Winn and Jimmy, when Winn's like, long live the super friends and stuff like that. So I was like, that's a cool little reference to throw in there. But it was a fun episode. The main villain I thought was fine. It was, excuse me, really not the most important thing for this episode. It was honestly, well, I mean, that was the least important thing of this whole episode. It was like everything with the characters and their personal development. That's what made this episode so good to me. And the villain was fine. A guy got infected. It was a lot like The Thing. I don't know if that was meant to be a reference to the movie The Thing by John Carpenter. I was like, this is a lot like The Thing. Like, they're in the Arctic. There's just a bunch of scientists. It was different stuff that started it off, but it was just like, it's a bunch of people in the Arctic. This random virus infects one person, and then he doesn't shapeshift or anything. It was kind of like the super sped up version of it. But I was like, this is making me think of The Thing. It's just, and plus because he reached his hand in, and there's a certain scene in The Thing where, I'd rather not spoil it, but it's just a great prosthetic thing that they do in the movie. But it involves a guy like going into someone else's stomach. But I was like, man, it made me think of the thing, so I thought that was cool. Villain himself, not much to it. He absorbs people's powers, then he mutates. Winn called him Grimace, which made me laugh like crazy. And then eventually, when he absorbed Kara and Jean at the same time, and he mutated, they kind of had like an alien thing going on because they had like multiple mouths. I was like, okay, that's cool. I felt like that was an obvious reference, just the way it looked. You had more mouths than Xenomorph from Alien, but I was like, that makes me think of Alien, and then the early thing made me think of the Thing. So I don't know if that was meant to be the case, but that's what I saw when I was looking at those moments. I was like, this makes me think of these two really classic horror movies. So that's what I saw. Could just be me making connections that aren't really meant to be there, but I thought it was fine. You know, it was pretty simple, not much to it. I like the visuals for it, like when he was absorbing people early on before the crazy, CG mutation came along. I thought it was fine. I was like, that's kind of cool. You see the purple and it kind of, flows from people into him, and you see like the veins and stuff through his arm. I was like, that's actually kind of cool. A simple little, effect, but I thought it looked pretty sweet. So, villain was fine. Really not much to him. They end up having to kill him because Kara has to use um, plutonium because it's so much energy and uses that to overload his system, which, as Alex mentioned, that's how Chernobyl started. And he blew up, and I was like, I don't know. I mean, it's all fake, so it's not like I can just be like, that's not how that would accurately work. It's fake, so it could easily work that way, who knows. But I was thinking, if he blew up after absorbing a bunch of, plutonium, even that small explosion should have had some sort of, I guess it would technically dissipate because it was a small explosion. There's a bit of dust, but Jimmy should have been affected because he was so close to all that smoke. I was like, that should have affected him, at least in a small way. It would actually take a while because it's not like it was just, actual fallout. But I was like, yeah, he should be affected by that. Maybe not Kara and Mon-El, but I don't know. I mean, technically, he absorbed a bunch of plutonium, and that's what caused him to explode. He overloaded with plutonium and then blew up because of the plutonium. That probably should have had some sort of effect, I felt, but it was like a tiny little gas cloud that'll just dissipate, so ultimately, yeah, it wouldn't make much of a difference, but villain wasn't the important part. It was all the characters in this one. I had a nice little moment with McGann and Jean where she has to do the blood transfusion, and she's upset where it's like, I want to help him, but he would hate this if he knew that I was a white Martian giving him blood. So I thought that was kind of cool. And just that, little connection and stuff where she's like, I of course want to save him because I do care, but I wouldn't want to do this because I don't want to do this because I know how much he would hate it knowing the truth. So I like that little moment. I thought it was pretty well done. And I'm excited to see where they go with Mon-El. He was having his struggle in this episode, and now he's been captured. He was trying to be the hero, and it was almost like, see, that's what happens when you be the good guy. You get tased and then kidnapped by, the alien experimentation place. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm very excited for this next episode. Hopefully they don't stray too far away from Cadmus, especially now that Mon-El's been captured, because the whole thing when they introduced Cadmus was like, hey, they have Alex and Kara's dad. And we haven't really seen them touch on that yet. It's been like they did for like a split second in the last season. Alex and Jean went to try to deal with Cadmus, and then that didn't happen because of everything that happened within the city. So after that, this whole season has been Cadmus came to the city instead of them going to Cadmus. So it's like Cadmus is still a main part of the story, but like the important part of Cadmus, which was them getting introduced for having taken their dad, that part hasn't been, even remotely brought up, like, at all. Even when they mentioned, like, oh, Cadmus is back, they may have mentioned it, actually, when they did the TV thing. It was like, we'll stop them and then find your dad or whatever, but it hasn't really been, like, a main part of the season like I was expecting. It's just been, well, Cadmus was introduced because of this big thing with their dad, and then it's like, alright, but now Cadmus is just the, it's just the main enemy. It's not, like, the deeper connection stuff where they have their father and all that. So I'm hoping that changes now that they have both Mon-El and their dad. It's like, alright, we have to go after Cadmus and get the truth. Since we're saving Mon-El, might as well get the truth behind our dad and figure out what's going on there as well. So I'm hoping that's how things play out now that they have two people that they care about. Because, like I said, so far it's just been like, well, Cadmus has just given them villains of the week. and that really cool part of Katniss that was supposed to be them, having their dad, hasn't really been relevant at all this season. So I'm hoping that starts to come back into the fold, because I want to know what they're going to do with that. I mean, if he's really still alive, I want to see where they take that. Or if he's not alive, what exactly did they do before he died? Like, there's more to it than, he's dead or he's alive. Whether him being dead is the truth or him being alive is the truth, there's going to be more to it. There's always something, because even when characters are dead, after you look for them, in TV there's always something extra. Even after they died, they left some sort of message or something happened. So, looking forward to them hopefully getting deeper into that now that they've taken another person that the team cares about. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I do want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts. And I have to ask, what do you guys think about Jimmy being the Guardian? What do you think of his costume? What do you think of the concept in general? Because I didn't really ask that last time, but I really do want to know what you guys think about Jimmy Olsen flat out being a hero. I'm sure that's happened at some point in the comics or in one of the 8 million DC cartoons. But it's just not something I'm used to. Outside of like that crazy alternate world version of Jimmy where he was like giant and bulky, this is different. He's one of the heroes out there. Of course, he has the lead line suit, which I thought was actually a pretty cool touch. And it's like, that way they can't figure it out. Like, I'm the one black guy, But, yeah, I'm excited to see how that all plays out. But I do want to know what you guys thought about, Jimmy finally stepping into the realm of being one of the heroes. What do you think about it? Just the concept, like I said, in general, with it being Jimmy rather than any other character. And, of course, I want to know what you guys thought about the episode in general. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.